Oh, okay.
I'm just giving you this.
That's been
To
in
say that,
the
these are
charter.
all just kind of
Yeah.
force of
That was also in the
accountability.
charter already.
Yep, I sent that to you.
Use of
Oh, got it, got it,
facilities,
okay.
These are
reasonable fee.
partnerships, and we send them to the ICs. And we send them to these trainings.
Sounds like a
and
commissioner, where was
preparations.
it?
Well,
Commissioner, commissioner will be responsible for collecting money.
The director of recreation is the head of that, so
It works.
you don't want to collect money like the
Oh,
commissioner,
got it.
director would, but they would
So this is
charge.
the.
And, yeah,
I figured it's all that out.
yeah.
Even
They're the
last
only-
time. Even last time, I said, this is what you owe us. And I sent them the invoice, and you know, what's this?
Well, he's the director, he's the head of the commission, so.
Oh, last this week, we got that.
They don't all make sense
If
now.
it was
No.
in last
The
year's
other
budget,
one gets
we
paid.
received
Golf
this,
commission
we have to go
gets paid.
back into our
No.
overtime line.
Oh, golf commission, okay.
I think the golf commission is, I
Don't
think,
even worry
and
about it.
I don't think the,
Don't even worry. about it.
Okay.
I don't think the planning commission is really supposed to
We're just
say
trying to
okay.
figure out.
I think it's just, they were all written at different times.
Jimmy, you smiling tonight?
So they're not
Smiling tonight?
consistent, but,
Whatever
no, nobody would get paid.
You know,
I said so long, you know that, right?
Whatever he says.
Was I wrong?
Pay for him to be for,
Thank you.
you know, stuff for college.
I will go to Queen tomorrow, and then I'll send you.
Oh.
I don't have any eyes over there.
You think you should be billing, blah, blah, blah.
Now it's on you, Tone.
I'll put it off.
It follows you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it likes me.
Next week.
Oh,
I saw today. Yeah.
what's not to
Likes
like?
you or likes your voice?
It's that voice. Oh, but you like your voice too? This is cool.
That doesn't go over here though, right?
It does.
Blind
It,
spot.
Yeah.
when you talk, it will.
If you talk, it'll pick you up.
They pick them up.
How about me? Does it get me over here?
No, maybe not.
Might make them ask the regular thing.
It's gotta be like when people first got running water in the.
I provided a lot of them.
Or electricity, when you just.
Exactly.
It is a change. From this point forward, our plan is to live stream our meetings so that people will be able to view them live on YouTube, or they'll be able to view a recorded version on YouTube, which is, very, very, I think it's a wonderful step for transparency. It's a wonderful step for, in getting more people involved in our government. It's been a long time coming, and I'm gonna thank Louise Byron, our new controller, and I'm gonna thank Zach, the Attack Baxter, who understands technology better than anybody in the building, for jumping on this and putting this thing together. And I also wanna thank the Perth Broad Albany School District, who donated this big screen. And, it's just a great thing. I'm really pleased to be able to say we're gonna be going public, but I also wanna tell the public that if it is a difference, there's a change now. So you're gonna be broadcast publicly as well. And you need to know that if you say we're Chet, you talk, so you're gonna be a star on YouTube, but I want you to know that that's part of the deal from now on, okay? All right, James, whenever you're ready.
Call this comment, council meeting order. Alderman, Moore, said you'd be a little late. Okay? And how many consent resolutions are you heard?
One.
One. Okay, let's go to the first resolution, 23, 24, 35, and the consent. Resolution authorizing a budget amendment for healthcare workers bonus by Alderman Collins. A budget amendment is necessary to accept the third round of funding for the New York State Department of Health and New York State Healthcare Workers Bonus Program. The New York State Healthcare Workers Bonus Program authorized funding in the amount of $6,459 for eligible healthcare and mental hygiene workers. And this bonus includes a credit for the employer's FICA contribution in the amount of $6,459. Do you want, Irene, you want Louise to talk on this, or? Go ahead, Louise.
Actually,
Okay.
I'll defer to the
This is
chief.
the same thing we've done
Chief.
previous times. This is a New York State had put it in the state budget for healthcare worker bonuses to retain employees and recruitment aid through the budget due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Who's eligible for this?
EMTs, paramedics, we are eligible through the fire department, so it's that. Fire department.
So this is to the fire department.
Yeah, it was different workers, you had to align up with different periods and there were 6-month periods, and then after that, that's the vesting period, and then after that, you have to file for the bonus and then get it, and then distribute it. So all the money comes from New York State, and then they give the city enough to cover the FICA and payroll taxes.
Any questions? Anybody have any discussion, questions? All right, we'll move on to the regular agenda. Resolution 23-24-27, adopting the minutes of last common council meeting. Thank you, city clerk. Anyone have any questions on the last meeting minutes? Thank you very much. Resolution 23-24-28, budget modification for the police department license plate reader system. In June of 2023, Assemblyman Santa Barbara secured a $10,000 funding from the Edward Byrne Memorial Grant Fund on behalf of the Amsterdam Police Department to purchase license plate reading equipment. And the amount would be for $16,169.33. And whereas $6,169 of that cost is being paid from a year-end surplus in the police department contractual line item. City Chief, you want to discuss this?
Sure. Assemblyman Santa Barbara, promised us $10,000 in a grant, that we're using towards a license plate reader, camera system that will be installed on one of our new patrol vehicles. We had money left over in last year's budget that will pay the remaining costs for that system.
Thank you very much. Irving Cobb, thank you very much. Anybody else have any questions? All right. 23-24-29, resolution authorizing the sale of city-owned property of vacant land behind 27 Village Lane East, sponsored by Marison Quaney. This would be in, I believe, the second ward. Vacant land. David?
Yes.
You want to move this resolution?
Yes.
All right. City desires to sell a small piece of vacant land behind the 27 Village Lane East, and they give me the SPL number. It also has no particular use for the city, and its previously has sold certain parcel of land. And the owners of 27 Village Lane East, Michelle Antonio Martinez and Luis Juarez Reyes, would like to purchase this parcel. And the property disposition committee, having made recommendation that city sell this parcel to Michelle Antonio Martinez and Luis Juarez Reyes for the consideration amount of $100. And basically, this is part of their backyard, right, Aaron?
It's a landlocked piece of property, that's big enough for a horseshoe pit. All the other ones in that row were already sold off to the property owners, there must be no right away.
There's a map.
This is the last one.
Okay, thank you very much. And there's a map,
That shows us the piece we're talking about.
anybody have any problems? Dave, you'll move that resolution sponsored by the mayor, okay?
So moved.
Thank you. Resolution 23-24-30, approving a standard workday for employees by Alderman Stephen Gamula. If Stephen's not here, Kelly, you want to move this?
Sure.
All right. Be it resolved that the city of Amsterdam location code number 20,002 hereby establishes the following as the standard work days for all its employees that will report days worked to New York State and local employee retirement system based on a timekeeping system or the record of activities maintained and submitted by these members in the clerk of office. And they are Alderman Gamula, Stephen, Alderwoman Krista Mars, Alderwoman Irene Collins, and Corporation Counsel Anthony Cassell. This is a basic resolution that we have to file for New York State retirement system if you're in. Anthony? Thank you. Any questions?
Yes,
Go ahead.
standard work hours, 6, 6, 6, 6. Does that mean they can't go over 6?
No, we had to work a minimum of 6. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Stuff we gotta do better on this redaction.
Resolution authorizing 31, authorizing sale of surplus equipment through a public auction by myself on a seller. Now, various departments in the city of Amsterdam have identified property that is no longer needed or has no practical use to the city department. And the police department has an inventory of miscellaneous seized, abandoned property that it needs to dispose of in accordance with federal, state, and local requirements. The city has engaged in services of Colorado City Auction in the past to sell any surplus property through a public auction and has been satisfied with the level of professionalism and services that Colorado City provides. The mayor is authorized to sign a contract with Colorado City Auctions for the purpose of selling the attached list of surplus property at an upcoming public auction. I believe this is outlined, am I right? All this, please,
I'm sorry?
this, that we are auctioning off? Is this online?
Colorado City,
I
yes.
don't-
We need.
Chief?
Yes, Colorado City auction.
Colorado City Auction website.
Oh, you mean the auctions online? I'm so sorry, I didn't know. I thought you meant the list.
Well, Colorado City Auction will be online,
Okay.
and then they will advertise, and they will sell this.
Jimmy, we're gonna get an updated, our contract with them, it's gotta be updated, so
Okay,
once we get that, I can approve it.
Yeah, I
Thank you,
sent
Rick.
it to,
We can
it's
go
been
ahead and pass
updated and Michelle has it.
Okay, good.
Sent it to her.
Good.
okay, thank you.
And I believe that we have a couple amendments to this, right? For Michelle's own.
Okay, you want to add pieces of material to this? Go right ahead.
Edit one of them, instead of a Pelican motorized street sweeper, it should be a 2013 Elgin.
Elgin,
And at the very end, she wants to add a 1993 International Step Van.
okay, so, I'll sponsor this resolution, I'll sponsor the amendment. Okay,
International what?
International Step Van.
DE?
okay,
So it's gonna be a different contract than what we have here?
That'd be a van with a
so
step.
what's, Kelly?
No,
Or is this the contract?
Just an extension, of what they have.
But you said she made amendments to the contract.
no, I think this, where is the contract?
We just have to let attorney Casali read it, he hasn't
Yeah,
seen it.
I haven't
He's read
seen the updated contract.
Yeah.
There was a contract that came through a few weeks ago that covered like a 3-year period. It
You
was,
took that out.
I thought the terms were too general or overly general.
Right.
And I
Her
was
contract
seeking
should
something
just,
more specific to this transaction.
So this says 1 year after the agreement,
1 year for this
this
approved
contract.
list.
Yeah.
So the changes were incorporated, you just haven't seen
I
it?
just haven't seen it.
Okay,
Yeah,
We could pass the resolution tonight.
we are, we're gonna pass the resolution.
Alderman?
Yes.
Just brought to my attention, the phone system, the iWatson phone system, the old phone system the police department used, is listed twice in that. It's listed iWatson phone system, and then at the bottom it says APD phone system. So if the APD phone system, the one listed at the bottom, could be deleted, that's covered in the previous iWatson list.
Okay, what is I'll cover that with the amendment, to delete the last APD phone system. Okay? We'll delete that, and we will amend to add the 2 lists that the city clerk will add. Okay? Thank you. Next is a resolution adjusting the outstanding property taxes for 244 West Main Street due to an error by Alderman Marticello. By way of a background, in 2010, the city took ownership of 244 West Main Street through an in-rem procedure, foreclosure procedure. And that action brought to pursuant to Article 11 of real property tax laws. And through the administrative error, the parcel remained on the tax rolls despite being owned by the city of Amsterdam, accruing property taxes in the amount of $79,176.23. And in 2021, this error was corrected internally. However, the amount of $79,176.23 continues to show as being due as a consequence of the aforementioned administrative error. And whereas, so as to make the tax roll for the subject correct, the Controller's Office has recommended that we write off be made of this erroneous property balance. And the Controller's Office is authorized to write off the principal on the balance of any erroneous outstanding taxes of $79,176.23. I think this resolution speaks for itself. We just gotta write it off. So it's not an actual, that's all. Okay? Okay. 23, 24-33, authorizing the issuance of 2,300,000 bonds of the city of Amsterdam, Montgomery County, New York, to pay for the cost of the demolition of the strip mall on Church Street in and for the city. This should be sponsored by Stephen Lebeau. It's his ward, okay?
That's it.
And now, this one, basically, Mary, you wanna talk, this is a nice long one, or you wanna talk about this, where this is a strip mall on 5 corners? Go ahead.
You want me to talk about
Yeah,
the project?
Yeah.
Well, we, as everybody knows, we applied for a Restore New York grant and we received it. And we also have National Grid money coming. This is gonna enable, and they're both reimbursement grants. So this will enable us to knock it down and get reimbursed by the 2 grant sources.
that's
It'll
2
be a
million.
fantastic day in the 4th Ward, fantastic day in 5 Corners. Fantastic day for the city of Amsterdam, and to see that old ostrich come down.
And that's $2,300,000. And I know there's a special thank you to a lot of people involved that got this money.
Say it again.
A special thank you for the people that got this money for us.
Absolutely, yes. Restore New York program is an outstanding program, and the people who helped get that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the grants are gonna cover the 2 million for it?
Yes, we're gonna be reimbursed. Okay? All right, next would be the audit by Alderwoman Collins.
It's fine.
Thank you very much for doing the audit. Thank you very much. And next, and this is an introduction of an ordinance D of 2023 to be known as ordinance 4 of 2023 if adopted. And this is an ordinance modifying section 47-20 of the Amsterdam City Code relating to credit cards and purchasing cards. Louise, you want to talk on this one?
Sure.
Go ahead.
So, this is just to give us the ability, to offer more, to issue more credit cards. Actually, it's not really a credit card, it's a purchasing card that, you have to pay the bill, every month in full. But these kind of programs are getting much more common and, popular, because it's gonna increase our flexibility significantly. It's just cities at a disadvantage a lot of the time by the fact that we only have one credit card in our possession. So it's gonna really, make things much more efficient and flexible, when it, for a lot of
And you
departments.
have strict controls that are gonna make sure, right?
Yes,
There's additional
They have-
oversight that's
Yeah.
built in here.
yeah, they look like a credit card, but there are a lot of controls behind the scenes to make sure that, everything is still being
We
purchased.
have like an online account where you can log in and you could like turn off cards or
Turn off-
everything's attributed to who buys it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We can set merchant category codes for each card so that individual departments can only make very specific purchases at certain merchants. We can set dollar amounts, we can turn them on, off, very easily. So they're very, there's a lot of control built into them.
Easy to audit that way, yeah.
What
Been
kind
a
of
long time
reporting
ago.
is that? Will it give you reporting that you can eventually import into your system?
Yes, when we have our new software in place, like right now in the current software that we use and the KeyBank account, statement, like everything in our system looks like we bought it from KeyBank. It identifies KeyBank
Right.
as the merchant.
Right.
But the new programs will allow us to import, like a spreadsheet from its
So you don't have to
KeyBank,
reconcile
whatever.
it, that additional step,
And it'll
yeah.
show KeyBank as who we're paying, but it'll actually show us who the vendor is too. So there's more transparency than, like I said, with other credit cards in that regard too.
What's the cost associated?
There's no cost and we actually get a 1% revenue, like kickback to us at the end of the year.
Don't use the word kickback.
Yeah.
1% cash
I shouldn't
back.
say kickback, I'm sorry. Rebate. If we spend over 50, and this is Citibank has a purchasing program that's part of a New York State contract. We'll probably end up utilizing that contract, but if we spend over 50,000, we get 1% of all our purchases back as revenue to the city. So the state has.
We do that in 2 months. We do that in like a month.
But the state has really promoted these kind of, and encouraged these kind of programs for a variety of reasons.
How will this work with purchase orders?
The purchase orders will not be necessary. But we can limit, like I said, we can limit them to transactions under 500. You know, but I think we would still use the traditional purchasing, procedures for larger purchases. This is really meant for most of the, like under $1,000 items. Yeah, we don't want to bypass,
Right.
any of the other important policies that are in place.
Much needed purchasing reform, thank you, Louise, and since I've got the only card in City Hall that everybody uses, it's like, I'm used to that because of my wife, but it's gonna make it much easier for everybody to be more efficient.
The limit is very low, so we,
I would say that just this week, I put in 2 requisitions for purchases, each one of them under $10. And which is fine, there needs to be a protocol to do it, but this would probably simplify it.
Right, it'll be
That's
amazingly
somewhat.
more efficient.
Thank you. Next, these are introductions. This is another introduction, ordinance E of, introduction of ordinance E, known as ordinance 5. An ordinance modifying chapter 171 of the Amsterdam City Code pertaining to a peddler application recorded. Alderwoman Quist Mars. I think we better read this one. Alderwoman, you wanna read it?
Sure, yeah, I mean, this came together, I know that the mayor and the clerk and the corporation council and probably the police chief have been working on this, prior, but the situation is to update this. It hadn't been updated since 1954, and peddlers have changed since then. And it needed to be more applicable to things like food vendors, the food trucks specifically. So the legislative intent on this is in section 171 of the Amsterdam City Code is where the application process for a peddler license is codified and has not been updated since 1954, with specific regard to the existing language found at 171-19A9. It is believed that the policy is patently antiquated and in need of replacement. Nice writing, thank you. It is the intention to replace the existing language found in said section with a requirement that the applicant, in case of a food vendor, demonstrate proof of a valid permit issued by the New York State Department of Health, and in that case where the applicant is a vendor of frozen food, demonstrates proof from Ag and Markets. The intention is to modify and repeal existing languages found in section 171-22 requiring a surety bond and to replace that with a proof of liability insurance. Again, that's an update from 1954 for not less than $1 million. And then there's a section that will be repealed, which requires a doctor's exam, which is also something that I think likens back to the days of tuberculosis.
Gets back to the antiquated.
Yes, that's the antiquated when we had to, make sure people didn't have tuberculosis.
Somebody reputable in the community.
Yeah, we do still have on there, I think, references. You'll see that the application, I think, is attached somewhere in there. And again, this is the work of them. I just took interest in it when we had a concern with the Food Truck Fridays at the Mohawk Co-works and confusion as to who needs to get what license, when, how, why. And if New York State is certifying people, we don't also need to necessarily certify them, but we do need to know what their actions are in our city for public safety, for public health, for those types of things. So this is their work. That's all I can really say about it. And it is somewhere in the pile of papers that we have is a copy of that updated application, which would, I think, be very helpful.
Okay, anyone have any questions? Alderman, we're on the last local law.
Thank you, sir.
Next, introduction of a local law B of 2023 to be known as local law 2 of 2023 is passed. A local law adjusting compensation of the mayor and city of Amsterdam pursuant to C-50 of the city charter. And by Alderwoman Quist Mars, and what this basically is, we're increasing the mayor's salary. This won't go into effect until January 1 of 2024. Okay, and the compensation for the mayor of the city of Amsterdam has not been increased since 1997. The office of the mayor of the city of Amsterdam is a full-time chief executive position with extensive oversight for a $38 million budget. And, I'm sorry, Alderman Quist, it's your law.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just used the language from the last one in 1997, but we agreed as a council when we were doing our budgeting to add a $10,000 increase. And $5,000 is already included in this year's budget because it will need to count for January 1 to July 1.
Okay, and this basically will go into effect January 1.
Yep, as per the charter. Yep.
The only blank needs to be filled in is for the day of the public hearing, which I assume will be the first Tuesday in September, whatever date that is. Yes.
And that's what we have for these other ones too.
What is it?
September 5th.
September 5th. The public hearing, September 5th.
Yeah, for all three of these.
All three of them.
There also is another public hearing set up for CDBG
Okay.
grant at 5:50 on September 5th already.
Okay, so you wanna repeat that? What are these public hearings at what time?
So far, the three from today are not scheduled yet, but there's one previously scheduled for September 5th at 5:50 PM, and that's for a CDBG grant.
Okay, we'll schedule that for 5:50 and the rest to follow.
Why don't you do one at 5:50 already, do one at 5:45 and one at 5:55?
Because it might cut in the agenda, that's why. So to make this, and a lot of times these public hearings are seconds. So rather than just sit here for 5 minutes and do nothing, we'll just put one public hearing at, what time is the first one?
5:50 is. the one that's
5:50, we'll start at
previously-
5:50, and then the rest will be immediate following. Because you know what, it can be like one person get up there or nobody, and we're gonna sit here for 5 minutes until 5:55. So we'll just do it immediately following.
And people could talk on any of the
Right,
three.
exactly,
Yeah, that would make sense.
okay,
If they want to talk about.
thank you.
Okay.
All right, and we already discussed the consent, and we have about 3 minutes, Mayor.
We need 2 executive sessions tonight, please, both discuss, have to do with, purchase and sale of real estate. And, I will cite the section at the end of the meeting.
Don't even apologize, I only heard the real estate, I heard nothing else. Say it again.
The executive session will have to do with purchase and sale of real estate, both of them.
Purchase,
Purchase and sale of real estate.
okay,
I'll read. It's Public Officers Law, Section 105, Sub 1, Sub H, relating to the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property, or the proposed acquisition of securities, or sale, exchange of securities held by such public body,
okay.
etc.
And the other one?
Two different transactions. It's the same section of law.
Okay.
But we'll be ending one executive session and then starting another one upon its conclusion.
And we can do that after the meeting.
I had requested one as well. I sent an email about that on employee, on this specifically.
You didn't get that in?
I did it.
Can we get
That
on
would
that
be,
too?
I'll cite the section as well. but-
Okay, yeah, I know you just have to cite this.
Want to read that out again?
That section would be Public Officers Law, Section 105, Sub 1, Sub F, relating to the medical, financial credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. I know that this sounds silly, what I'm gonna say, but a couple of years ago, we had an issue come up over how these were read by someone that objected. The way I proceeded was determined to be correct. So at the risk of exhausting patience, when we get to the end of the meeting, I'm going to read those sections again and ask for the motions, please.
Okay. Yeah, we're ready.
All right, let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. Call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alderman Quistamars.
Here.
Alderman Deakin.
Here.
Alderman Collins. Alderman Espinola.
Here.
Alderman Marticello.
Here, I make a motion to adopt the agenda with one consent.
Alderman Marticello.
Aye.
Alderwoman Quistamars.
Aye.
Alderman Deakin.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins. Alderman Espinola.
Okay, we do have a proclamation tonight I want to read. And this has to do with the Veterans Park donation recently made by some wonderful citizens. The Alpen House donated splash pad at Veterans Park has been a gigantic hit with Amsterdam's youngsters this summer from the very first cold water splash. But something was missing. Adults accompanying their young ones to the new attraction had no place close by to sit and keep watchful eyes as they got drenched. Amsterdam resident and community volunteer Alicia Schechten saw comments on Facebook from moms who had visited this pad, wondering if there were plans to add places to sit and perhaps have lunch. She got the brilliant idea to approach Amsterdam business owners Robert and Gina O'Brien to see if they'd be interested in helping solve that problem. Quicker than you could say problem solved, the O'Briens paid for and had delivered 4 beautiful picnic tables to the park where they are strategically positioned around the pad. It is for this generous gesture of good citizenship that Amsterdam salutes the O'Briens and Alicia Schechten for their big-hearted willingness to help make something good even better. So we're gonna have an Amsterdam Salutes proclamation put up online and hung in the mayor's.
Very nice, thank you.
Okay, communications and presentations. Nothing else? Then it's time for public participation. If you want to say something, please approach the podium, state your name and address, and we'll have a 5-minute timer.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth O'Hara. I live at 251 East Main Street, the new Vettersburg building that they built. And right in our backyard is a landfill, is a dump at 17 Lark Street. According to the fire chief, there was a fire there a year ago. It still hasn't been cleaned up. Many calls have been put through to our city attorney, but to no avail. He refused to answer any of them, give us an update. Chief Agressa, at my insistent, went to 17 Lark Street and claimed now it's being used as a landfill, that people are just dumping stuff there. And we would just like to know, there's been an online petition that's been ignored by the neighborhood. We would just like to know when it's gonna be cleaned up. Yesterday, I spoke with Lieutenant Spencer, who put me through to our alderman and told me about this meeting tonight, that I could come and speak. I've given you paperwork and pictures of what it looks like, and the neighborhood would just like our neighborhood to be cleaned up.
Chief, you wanna give us an update?
I'd like to give you an update. It's in court, Attorney Casale.
Yeah, it's a,
I mean,
I mean, it's just public comment.
just to make the record clear, I've had a number of conversations with Ms. O'Hara, but I don't feel that there's anything that I'm going to say that's going to make her happy.
So make me
I don't see
happy,
the
what's
point.
being done, make me happy.
Well,
It's-
But that, we're
So
still
there's-
public comment.
There's city code
You
case
can
pending.
talk in public comments.
they've said.
There's a city code case pending, and there's also a criminal case pending,
Okay.
and those things take time.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
what- that's
understand,
what she
I
needs to know.
sympathize with the frustration. At the same time, I would say calling my office every day and leaving a 3-minute message, it doesn't really help things.
Okay, well, she called me yesterday, okay? So I'd like to know what's going on
Well,
myself.
again, it is in court, ma'am. The city doesn't own the property. That's number one. So when the city doesn't own the property, it's difficult to take action against the property. But it is involved in a court case. And I just happened to speak to the district attorney yesterday, and the district attorney informed me that there was going to be a resolution to the case.
Well, the gentleman was in court last week,
Yeah.
and he was given a 45-day extension.
It's the way courts work, ma'am. It's the
But
way
we're just
courts work,
wondering
but
when we can have a
we
resolution.
will stay right on top of it, and I apologize for the mess on Lark Street, but again, it isn't our property. We are restricted by law from doing things. We are doing everything that we can do by law to get it cleaned up, and I do expect to be able to give you a resolution in the near future.
Near future, is that
Yes,
like
yes.
years down the road?
No. But again, I understand I don't know, you're not impatience, but your
Persistence.
frustration.
Frustration and persistence.
Right, and it will be cleaned up, but
To
it
have it
has
cleaned up.
been given attention from day one. Before your very first call, we've been working on the property. But nothing we can say tonight is gonna satisfy you until I can tell you what the resolution's going to be. And as soon as I have that resolution, I promise you'll be the first to know, okay?
Okay,
Thank
and
you.
how will I be contacted? By mail, by phone?
I'm sure we have your phone number, do we not? I will call you personally. All right?
Okay, I appreciate that.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you
for
so much.
coming.
Thank all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chief Addressa.
You're welcome. John R. Chadwick Road at 18 Austin Street. It's nice to be televised. And a couple weeks ago at the last common council meeting, I mentioned about 5 corners. I never would have thought you would have acted so quickly in 2 weeks, you know? Now, hopefully we got something planned for that site. Once the buildings are down, I mean, I knew that there was a solar company was looking at there, but
No,
But
no
that's-
solar companies.
you don't want a solar
No
company
solar
there.
company.
Okay,
It's gonna be a
Well-
big, what do they used to call it, blockbuster, a big blockbuster. I'm just kidding. Remember when they used to get videos over there?
all
It'd
right.
be video,
Yeah.
right?
Video
Yeah,
world.
that's going back.
Go ahead, sir.
I want to talk about a planning board. Now, we have a planning board. Evidently, the town of Amsterdam must have a planning board. The town of Amsterdam has been fighting solar farms, and they've been fighting the wind turbines for quite a while. People own land. I think mayors should have the right to make a decision about the land that they own. And by law, 2030, I mean, with the renewable energy, there's gonna be changes. If the people wanna wait to 2030 and buy an electric vehicle, for instance, that's great. Or they wanna wait to 2030 to make a decision about whether they should get have solar panels put on their roof or subscribe to a solar farm or so, because we have them out there. I told you before, I have a solar farm, I signed up for that, and I'm pretty happy, got a couple bills, I'm very happy the way things are going. But it seems to me that these fights that they're having, aren't right, because it's the law, and like I says, I think, we have some problems here and there, maybe with the planning board or so. I don't think it's been that controversial over here. My understanding is some guys wanna open up a pot shop or something, if you wanna call it that. I'm kind of old, the police department doesn't have to worry about me stopping over there. So, but I mean, if you wanna open up something, I mean, I think people have to be a little bit more, entertaining towards it and stuff. The planning board's evidently, it's not a paid position, correct, Mayor? All right, so, and it's an appointed position, correct?
Yeah, well, are you talking about the city planning
right,
commission
the city-
denying a solar field or something?
No, I'm just
Okay,
trying to
okay.
say that, if somebody
When it
wants
comes
to start a
before, yeah.
business, they shouldn't have to, they should have the right to have a business and not have to really go through
And
so much.
they do have that right.
Yeah.
And there's a process that's followed, and the
Yeah,
planning commission members know the process and go through it, hopefully, as I've seen, impartially each time.
and, it could be hold true also with the solar farms though, too. I mean, I'm sure that some places in Amsterdam, some companies probably looked into it. At the last common council meeting, you said that you're gonna take the solar panels off the, public safety.
Public safety building.
Right, then that's fine. Now, are all the street lights in the city of Amsterdam, are they all LED?
They will be, it just went to the Public Service Commission on July 30th, the city's proposal. And we should be hearing back from them in only 3 months. It's gonna take them 90 days. And once they say yes, we'll be able to sign a final contract and put the lights in probably the spring of 2024 is what we're hearing.
Okay, so that's a good thing. The same
Yes.
thing along the line is, would the city be able to save some money if we subscribed to a solar farm? Is that something that we can look
do have
into?
a link, we have our city streetlights already linked to a solar farm. And we are generating a savings from that. The problem, and our controller, Louise Byron, is on top of that.
Okay, well, that's a good thing. These are,
It is a
you always
great
say, but people think I always bring up things, so I think that's a good thing for the city. I mean,
It
write that
is.
down.
It is.
That I said something nice, but, so I'm trying.
You're on tape now, you don't have
It's
to
on
worry
tape
about
now,
it.
so, but these are the things that people are worried about in the future. That's why I've been, 2030 is right around the
That's
corner.
right.
And we're doing a good job with those, the charging stations and stuff.
but it's gonna be tough down the road. A lot of people may not be able to afford those EVs. They have the hybrids now. But I was concerned about the lights and stuff like that, and which once the people get into, they say that at home too. Put in LED lighting and stuff and try to winterize your home, try to do the best you can with it. So, okay, thank you.
Jeff. Anyone else? Okay, then we can move on to the controller's report, please. We have a controller's report.
I passed out a summary of our first month's activity. We're 1 month into the new fiscal year, and basically, what I passed out just kind of shows you where we're at. We're just off to a fairly uneventful start.
Any warning signs on anything?
I don't think so, no. Nothing yet.
I know our cash situation is also strong compared to previous year. Any questions?
Louise, in the expenditures, $300,000 interfund transfer, who was that to?
From the general fund,
Yes.
I think it's for debt service to the other funds.
Debt service already? That's that first payment? Okay.
And the revenue, we have two different, our software program is actually two programs that speak to each other. And a lot of the revenue from July, because July 31st, as you all know, was a due date for our first installment. And a lot of the revenue did not post in time. So, yeah, a little inaccurate, the revenue figures for that reason. But
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. No, any old business? Then we will move on to the resolutions.
Resolution 23-24-27, resolution adopting the minutes of the last common council meeting by Alderman Marticello.
So moved.
Alderman Marticello.
Aye.
Alderwoman Quistamars. Aye. Alderman DeCamora.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins.
Aye.
Alderman Escamilla. Resolution 23-24-28, resolution budget modification, police department license plate reader system by Alderwoman Collins. Whereas in June 2023, Assemblyman Santa Barbara secured $10,000 in funding from Edward Byrne Memorial Grant on behalf of the Amsterdam Police Department for the purchase of license plate reading equipment.
you vote down the resolve.
Resolved, the controller of the city of Amsterdam is authorized to amend the 2023 budget as follows: increase revenue, state aid, public safety, $10,000 to the expense of contractual expenses, $10,000.
So moved.
And I would, on behalf of the city, again, like to thank Assemblyman Santa Barbara for securing that money for us. It's a valuable piece of equipment. I know the chief is, in the whole department is appreciative of it.
Alderwoman Collins.
Aye.
Alderman Escamilla.
Aye.
Alderman Marticello.
Aye.
Alderwoman Quistamars.
Aye.
Alderman DeCamora.
Aye.
Resolution 23-24-29, resolution authorizing the sale of city-owned property, vacant land behind 27 Village Lane East by Mayor Quanti. Whereas the city is desirous to sell a small piece of vacant land behind 27 Village Lane East, known as SBL 40.14-5-31.3. Whereas the city has no particular use for this property and previously has sold similar parcels of land. Whereas the owners of 27 Village Lane East, Michelle Antonio Martinez and Luis Juarez Reyes, would like to purchase this parcel. Whereas the Property Disposition Committee, having made recommendations that the city sell the parcel to Michelle Antonio Martinez and Luis Juarez Reyes for consideration in the amount of $100. Resolved, the following parcel is authorized to be sold, the parcel behind 27 Village Lane East, for the amount of $100, and the buyers Michelle Antonio Martinez and Luis Juarez Reyes.
So moved.
Alderman DeCamora.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins.
Aye.
Alderman Escamilla.
Aye.
Alderman Marticello.
Aye.
Alderwoman Quistamars.
Aye.
Resolution 23-24-30, resolution approving standard workday for employees, RS 2418 by Alderman Escamilla.
So,
Alderman Escamilla. Alderman Marticello.
Aye.
Alderwoman Quistamars.
Aye.
Alderman DeCamilla.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins.
Aye.
Resolution 23-24-31, resolution authorizing sale of surplus equipment through public auction by Alderman Marticello.
So moved, make an amendment to delete and make an amendment to add.
Okay, do you want me to read the amendment?
Yes, read the amendment.
Okay, removing Pelican from the list and adding 2013 Elgin motorized street sweeper. Removing APD phone system and adding at the bottom of the list and adding 1993 International Step Van.
So moved.
Alderman Marticello?
Aye.
Alderwoman Quist Demars?
Aye.
Alderman D. Camilla?
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins?
Aye.
And Alderman Escamilla?
Aye.
As amended, Alderman Marticello?
Aye.
Alderwoman Quist Demars?
I'm gonna explain my vote. I'm gonna say, no to this because the Corporation Council hasn't read the contract.
Alderman D. Camilla?
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins?
Aye.
And Alderman Escamilla? Resolution,
Nike sneakers?
I'm on the side there. What side there?
Why so many blenders?
I thought it was a joke, I just saw it.
What?
Resolution 2324-32, resolution adjusting outstanding property taxes for 244 West Main Street due to error by Alderman Marticello. Whereas, by way of background, in 2010, the city took ownership of 244 West Main Street through an interim foreclosure action pursuant to Article 11 of real property tax laws.
Please read the result.
Resolved, the Controller's Office is authorized to write off the principal balance of all erroneous outstanding taxes in the amount of $79,176.23.
So moved.
Alderman Marticello?
Aye.
Alderwoman Quist Demars?
Aye.
Alderman D. Camilla?
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins?
Aye.
And Alderman Escamilla?
Aye.
Resolution 2324-33, a resolution authorizing the issuance of $2.3 million bonds of the City of Amsterdam, Montgomery County, New York, to pay the cost of demolition of the strip mall on Church Street in and for said city by Alderman Escamilla.
So moved.
Alderman Escamilla?
Aye.
Alderman Marticello?
Aye.
Alderwoman Quist Demars?
Aye.
Alderman D. Camilla?
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins? Aye. Resolution 2324-34, resolution approving the audit by Alderwoman Collins. Alderwoman Collins? Aye. Alderman Escamilla?
Aye.
Alderman Marticello?
Aye.
Alderwoman Quist Demars?
Aye.
Alderman D. Camilla?
Aye.
Resolution 2324-35, a resolution, consent resolution authorizing a budget amendment for healthcare workers bonus by Alderwoman Collins. Alderwoman Collins? Aye. Alderman Escamilla?
Aye.
Alderman Marticello?
Aye.
Alderwoman Quist Demars?
Aye.
Alderman D. Camilla?
Aye.
Introduction of Ordinance D of 2023 to be known as Ordinance 4 of 2023 if adopted. This is an ordinance modifying section 47-20 of the Amsterdam City Code relating to credit cards and purchasing cards by Alderman Marticello.
So moved.
Do you want to set the time for the?
Set the time for will be 5:50.
There is one already previously scheduled for 5:50. Did you want
Okay, I'll make this a meeting following.
Okay, 5:51 PM is September
Thank you.
5th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Introduction of Ordinance E to be known as Ordinance 5 of 2023 if adopted. This is an ordinance modifying Chapter 171 of the Amsterdam City Code pertaining to peddler application requirements by Alderwoman Quist Demars.
So moved.
Thank you. And
Public hearing, same time, right?
at 5:52.
Sure.
Thank you.
5:52 PM. Okay. Introduction of Local Law B of 2023 to be known as Local Law 2 of 2023 if passed. A local law adjusting compensation of the mayor of the city of Amsterdam pursuant to C-15 of the city charter by Alderperson Kelly Quist Demars.
So moved. Public hearing September 5th at 5:53.
Okay, awesome. I did it already.
All done?
Okay, so if I may, I would ask the.
Can I got a few minutes.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
Jumping the gun.
We skipped over, I didn't skip over, I totally forgot, sorry, Michael. Michael Clark, your engineering report, would you like to talk about anything?
Well, Mayor, thank you. I
You're
feared that
welcome.
I was not gonna get my moment to shine for this meeting. I just first and foremost, I wanna mention to everyone on the council that the city has a new chief wastewater plant operator named Bob Yeagle. Our previous operator, Kevin Gorman, moved on to other opportunities. Bob comes to the city with a 4A wastewater treatment license, which is the highest, and it's what our plant requires. And he has many years of experience. So we're happy to have him, and I'm confident that he's gonna do well for the city and will be a big part in the project development, for the plan upgrade that I've been talking about way too much for the last couple of years.
Transmission lines?
That too, yes. The transmission line, we have a pre-construction meeting next week to get the contract times rolling and get the contractor motivated. I expect that some of the drier areas they may move into and get rolling on now. Ultimately, they have the latitude to do work now or do some of the work in the winter, but I expect that to go. Paving, the paving program, everyone's asking. Our contractor, like many of the other ones, are backed up due to an exceptionally wet July, which has been, based on a recent review, about 270% of our normal precipitation for July. I probably didn't need to tell any of you that because you could have figured that out. Nevertheless, what it's done is caused many delays in everybody's projects. The short version to all this is that the contractor will be in and complete all the work in September. The remaining work is about 1.5 miles of street, I believe. 1.4 miles.
And some second layers.
Yes.
That's included in that?
All of it, yes. Everything, all the work of the contract.
No, but I'm saying that's included in the work he's got left at 1 point, whatever miles you just mentioned.
Yeah, there are, some of the streets were trued and leveled, TNL as we say, and yet they need a final top course.
Okay.
And I'm happy to answer any questions, as always.
Thank you, Michael. And I just have one other thing, a couple other things. The CDTA bikes are back at the pedestrian bridge, the south side pedestrian bridge at the foot of the bridge. So they are available for people to ride again. There's a shortage of those bikes, evidently, but we did get them back. The St. Mary's Church Festival is August 20th in the parking lot across the church. From the church, it goes from 11 to 5 p.m. It's nice to have that festival back in action. Feast of Assumption Festival is August 19th at the Knights of Columbus Clubhouse at the corner of West Main and Guy Street. So if you want to feast, this is the weekend of feast. We got 2 of them. And we hired a new, Michael, I almost repeated what you said about Mr. Yeagle, so I'm gonna stop now. And I think we're set, Tony, go ahead.
Just Tony, one thing. Mayor, we have a mailbox, I don't know who put this in, regarding the Recreation and Golf Commission. Where does this come from?
I did not get that.
I had Stephanie put that in just as we didn't have any time in the committee. Yeah, we didn't have any time in the committee meeting to talk about it, so we can always just table
Go
it
right
to the
ahead.
next committee
Go right ahead,
meeting.
Kelly, you can talk about it.
Again, okay. So in the charter, there's a recreation commission. I'm not sure when they last last time we had a recreation commission, but it is in the charter along with the golf commission, planning commission, zoning board of appeals, those types of things. And I think due to the size and expanse and growth of the recreation department, I believe it's time to reconstitute that. So I looked at what was in the charter currently. I also asked Stephanie, the one that's stapled together, I asked Stephanie just to print out what the commissions, the 3 different commissions that are in the charter, what the language is. And all the language is a little different because they were all adopted and created at different times, probably for different reasons. And so I kind of took the best of those 3 and put them together. And I also made my own suggestions as well. So in the one document that's like 3 different colors, you'll see the black writing is the current language. The blue writing is language that I took from another commission because it's, might as well recycle the language as it's already been approved. And then the red one is anything that I thought might be an improvement. So I just thought it would be something that we could start to talk about, bringing it forward. Get people's input on some of the changes I suggested, hear what their changes might be. Certainly we would want to talk to the employees of the recreation department as well as, the mayor, the executive levels here in City Hall. But I think we're long overdue to have that. And I think they can play a very active role in revamping our special events permits process, because we've been talking a lot about that. Our public safety policies and our insurance policies that are needed for special events. I think we've gotten to the point in our city where we don't have to beg people to come here anymore. They want to come here. And so we should be charging nominal fees for the use of public services so that we can then continue the upkeep of those public services, those parks, those pavilions. We can provide stability for people who say want to throw a party at a pavilion at Shuttleworth, that they don't have to go there at 8 o'clock in the morning and sit there and kick everybody else out. They could reserve it for 2 o'clock in the afternoon when the kid's birthday party is. And also we would then also know who was using it. And if it was left a mess, we would know who to charge, those types of things. But there's a whole lot of stuff that I think the Recreation Department can grow into, and that the city needs assistance in. And I think the commission would be able to create that, again, with the approval of the council. Any of those special event permit changes, any fees, all those types of things always come before the council. But I think we could use a lot of input. And when we went to that Veterans Park meeting, we had a lot of community members that have a lot of opinions, that wanted to help out, that wanted to have a place where they could voice their concerns and where they could make new policies. And we're starting talking about like a volunteer group for Veterans Park. That's great, but we can't ask Recreation to do one more thing. We can't ask Michelle Jackson to do one more thing, or who's gonna, or like somebody on the police force to do one more thing. So the Recreation Commission could come up with those policies, those procedures, that oversight, and be kind of our liaison and our references. And I think it's important that it represents every member, every neighborhood, so that we can hear what the parks are like in one community, what the basketball situation is in another. So we would have those voices. So I just want to get the ball rolling so that perhaps we could have this constituted by the end of the year. And then when spring picks up and like everything goes crazy with Recreation, they'll have like 6 months under their belts of working together and, coming up with it. So that's my suggestion, my long-winded suggestion. I would love for you guys to look it over, and I'd love to maybe like talk about it more at a committee meeting where we can really dig into it and you can say what you like and don't like about it.
Anyone want to make any comments at this time?
I think it's a good idea.
It's a very good idea to start, because the city is growing and we want to be ahead of the game. We want to have policies in place and
Well, it is.
that'll create some revenue. That the state is always saying Recreation needs to create revenue. So that's a step in that direction.
Thank you. Anyone else? I know it's in our charter. I know that the auditor, when he was auditing the Recreation Department, pointed that out and felt they needed additional oversight from the commission. So those two things would be certainly important considerations. And, I agree. I think we all need to work on this as a council. And I think that, I've talked to the Recreation Department about this. They have pros and cons that I think everybody wants to hear and understand. But at the same time, I do feel, we have an obligation to put something together that follows the charter and also provides the support, the oversight that the department needs. So I'm glad you brought this forth.
Thank you.
One last thing. Another in my mailbox.
This is the response to the auditor's board.
Yeah, that came from you, Mary?
No, this is from,
Key for me too.
yeah.
Who?
from
I
Stephanie.
asked Stephanie
Oh, we
to
asked that
print
it be
that out,
included.
yeah.
But you had seen this before.
I read it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, this is just what Kelly was talking.
Okay,
It's just nice to have paper, yeah.
all right.
Just backs it up.
Okay, make a motion for executive session.
Okay, well, should we do yours first?
Doesn't matter to me.
So I would ask that we make a motion to be brought to Public Officers Law, section 105, sub 1, sub F, regarding the medical, financial credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation.
Oh, so moved.
Alderwoman Christomers,
Aye.
Alderman Deaconmullen,
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins,
Aye.
Alderman Escamilla.
Aye.
Alderman Marticello.
All right. Okay, we're going to executive session. Thank you.
Just end this.
I think so, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we need to kill that.